collaboration with the IQAC Best Practice Initiative for Environment, and we hope to organize more of such events in the future. So, without further ado, we'll get on with the talk. Right. So, I now request our first year student, Palak, to please introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, Palak, you are very much audible.
Yes. So I would like to introduce our speaker, Ms. Minkit Lepcha. And she has been engaged with documenting stories and folklore based on ethnic communities of Darjeeling and Sikkim Himalayas for a few years. She got an opportunity to direct a film on River Tista through Subcom and traced the river from the source till the river leaves the mountain. Having always been inspired by Lepcha folklore and believing that the ecological wisdom are hidden in these stories, she creates workshops based on the folklore of Himalayan communities. She uses this workshop tool to inspire, influence, and educate young minds to connect with river and mountains and provide an experiential learning towards their surrounding rivers and mountains. She has been traveling narrating stories of rivers, seeds, birds, and mystical creatures to school and college students across India and Nepal. She is an awardee of Young Green Filmmaker 2016 in Woodpecker International Film Festival for her film Voices of Tista. This film also earned 10th position amongst 110 films in World Water Forum in Brazil 2018. She recently traced the old water sources of the World Heritage Site Buddha of Kathmandu, Nepal, using photographs as a medium to trace, evaluate, and envision future of water around Buddha. Sorry, the article is published in the Record, and she has curated an online exhibition where 30 young girls from Northeast collected their river folklore with Living Water Museum titled Visualizing Water Heritage of Northeast India through Storytelling. So now I request Ms. Minkit to present. I hope I am audible.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much to the English department and also my dear friend Garima and Palak for inviting me for this session. And I think it is indeed a great honor to be a part of Delhi University because I myself am a student of Delhi University. I passed out from SRCC back in 2006 and was there in Delhi for some time. So it is like almost contributing to the university and also to our dear students. So I think I can start, right, Garima? Yeah, thank you so much. Well, just to kind of give you a brief understanding of why, I consider myself a filmmaker and a storyteller together is because often people kind of consider filmmaking also as a storytelling, right? And but coming from an indigenous community like Lepcha, and where we have our stories as a part of our lives, and our grandfather and grandmother used to kind of tell stories, and that's how we grew up learning about the ethics of life, and not just about the ethics, but flora and fauna around the region, right? So after I made the film back in 2016 and getting all the fanfare awards and stuff like that, deep down inside, I was a student and I really wanted to go back to the school and really talk about why where is River Tista. But having said that, many of the students or many of the school students did not know about River Tista, or for that matter, many of us do not know which river do we come from. And that was kind of a bit of something which I really wanted to reflect on, like what are we teaching our children and our students. And because I was a primary school teacher, I landed up because I was also been documenting stories and folklore. I think that was a time when I started understanding that some of the local ecosystem are ingrained in the folk narratives, and it has to be alive. And writing a book is one thing, but it has to be alive in the form of telling the stories. So then I became a storyteller, and I actually started narrating, literally sitting down like I would do today, to tell you all the story of River Tista. And as I will be narrating this story, it is also very sacred stories for us. Most of the time, when there are rituals, marriages, birth, death ceremonies, we always call upon the mountains of this, mountains and the River Tista, because when we die, we go back to these mountains. We have secret lake, secret peak, and also sacred, cave. So these are all between below the Mount Kanchenjunga. And when our spirit goes back to these, just like Ganga for many of us, Tista happens to be for us, and we actually trace the River Tista and go back to these mountains. And the reason why I also kind of communicate about these stories is to say that we all have oral literature, we all have oral history, and many of our communities are come from a generation where it was never written down, and it's just been, I think, 100 years old, maybe 200 years old, where some of our communities first history has been written down. So there is a major chunk of our stories which is in orality, in telling the story. And so today, the sacred story that I will be narrating is also to kind of commemorate all those oral histories of our different communities that we come from. So I would like to get a permission on sharing the screen, and then I will take it forward. I think I can, right? Thank you so much. And I will be taking you through this PPT, because most of the time when I'm doing an online session, I usually kind of show what is this whole, the whole idea of the stories of these places also has certain ecological importance, environmental history and these things. So these are some places which talks about in this particular story, which is still there in these places. So just to kind of talk about that, just a second. I just want to know, I will be playing a sound. I was just hoping if you guys, can you hear it or not? Okay. Can you hear?
No. Can't hear the audio, Minkit.
No?
No.
Then I think I will just probably play it from my phone. Anyways. All right. So this is basically one of the most famous folklore from the Himalayan or the Darjeeling Sikkim region for the Lepcha community. And whenever we actually talk about this story, we call on different deities of the mountains and the rivers. And whenever these deities and mountains are called upon, we usually use a flute called the Pantong Palit. And this Pantong Palit is a four-hole flute, which actually makes the male and the female sound. And just like whenever you are basically, sometimes, when you are actually calling a guest, you always open the door and you always welcome them by saying, why don't you sit down, and give them a glass of water, and just sit down for a while, and then we will talk about it. So similarly, even when we are actually telling these stories, we actually allow the audience, because I think it's very important for us to become good listeners now. And when we become good listeners, it's also very important to understand that listening comes from settling down, and when we talk about listening, it also means that you have to really come into the presence of these gathering. And whenever we have this gathering, it's not about me giving a speech, or it's not about me really, bringing in any kind of knowledge, but it's like us sitting in a circle. So we imagine ourselves sitting in a circle, and like a fire right in the middle, and then we kind of tell the story. So for this, whenever I tell the story, I call upon the deities and also like ask permission for me to tell the story, because these are oral, powerful words that was told by my ancestors for many, many years. So I just hope that you will be able to hear the flute sound. Can you hear?
Yes, can hear.
Yeah. Thank you. So this is basically the male and the female sound, and we are inviting our the gods or the deities of the mountains and the rivers to listen to us and be a part of the story as I narrate. And I also want all of you to hopefully, I trust and I also invite all of you to settle down with whatever you are doing and just be aware of your breathing. And as you do that, just breathe in and breathe out. And keep your back straight. And just be aware of the fact that I'll be taking you to the mountains and the rivers of Eastern Himalaya. And just breathe in and breathe out. And when you feel right, just aware of the sound that you hear. And when you feel right, you may open your eyes and listen to the stories of the mountains and the rivers of Eastern Himalaya, and how the river got the name Tisatha or Tista, as many people know it. Long time ago, we had a creator, the creator Itpu Deburum, which was neither a male or a female. It was the protector and the guardian of these mountains. And I'm also talking about the time when these mountains were as small as a musketeer's tooth, and these mountains were very, very small. And when these mountains were very small, the Itbu Deburum used to dwell around the Mayanliang, or the sacred hidden land of the Lepchas. And in these mountains, there were beautiful and mystical creatures, the creatures which used to change shape, the creatures which used to fall from the sky, swim in the river, and so many other different creatures. And in this mighty mountain that was very small at that point of time, Itbu Deburum was very proud of this particular Mayalya. For the very fact that when the mountains used to like wake up in the sunrise, there used to be clouds which used to pass by, and the cloud used to come form in the form of a raindrop and used to fall on the trees and these beautiful flowers. And as the raindrop would fall on these flowers, the flower would say, "Thank you, my dear rain and raindrop. It's because of you I can grow into a beautiful flower." and the flower would fall down on Mother Earth, and the Mother Earth would used to look up in the sky and to the trees and say, "Thank you, my dear tree. It's because of you I can give birth to so many babies." And whenever there used to be the river which used to pass by, the river used to say, "Thank you, my dear Earth. It's because of you I can have a shape. Without you, I cannot have a shape." And there used to be Mother Earth thanking the river, saying, "My dear river, it's because of you I can give birth to so many babies, because you nourish me with the water and it becomes blood in my body." So it's about the times when everything was interdependent, together in harmony, full of love and gratitude, and everyone, all the beings, there was no human being as such, all the beings used to live together in harmony. So Itpudevurum was very, very happy and very content that Mayalyan was full of love and full of harmony. So it was also about the times when the mountain was growing. Eastern Himalaya is still growing. Like you see, the medicinal plants like rhododendron, like we in Nepali we call it utis, which is the left side, the tree. This tree is actually grown in the times when there are landslides, and it actually grows very fast. So the scientific name is Nepalensis alnus, but it is actually utis in Nepali. And we have rhododendron, which is very, very, it's very beautiful treasure of these mountains, but it is also medicinal flower. Whenever we have cough and cold, this is the flower which actually people used to eat. And this kind of medicinal flowers and trees were part of these mountains. And we also talk about this part of Himalaya. Kanchenjunga is a important part of Himalaya. So just like I am the daughter of Kanchenjunga, I am the granddaughter of Himalaya. So we all are interdependent, and we are not separate from the mountains. And this Himalaya is the only third pole which actually provides water to all the mainland India, to the rivers, from Ganga to Brahmaputra to Tista. All these rivers are from the White Mountain, the Himalaya. We have Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, and we also have so many other K2. All these three mountains lie in eastern Himalaya, or the Himalaya. And so these are very interdependent times when I'm talking about, where there were no political boundaries, where we all were brothers and sisters, and in living in harmony. And we had this beautiful birds which used to come from Siberia and come down and then again go back. We didn't have birds like understanding the borders, which they don't understand till now also. But there were these beautiful birds where all the people of the Himalaya used to know, because it used to dwell in these mountains. So Itbudevurum was very happy and really wanted to understand the laws of the nature that Mayalyan had created. So it really created two human beings. One was the Rangit and another one was the Rangnu. And when these two human beings were created right under the lap of Mayalyan, Itbudevurum said, "Please go down to Mayalyan and learn the laws of the jungle, learn how to respect the jungle, learn how everybody is interdependent, learn how they all are actually creating harmony by living together." So Itbudevurum created a male, that is the Rangit, and female, that is Rangnu, and it told them to go down to Mayalyan and learn the laws. And as these two human beings came down to Mayalyan, it was they both were full of excitement, full of how it's like going to a new place, full of excitement, full of happiness. So they went down and they started becoming friends with different medicinal flowers. We had trees, we had birds, like we have the katakfo, which means the blue-throated barbet, kahongfo, which is the hill partridge. So all these birds and animals, they all became friends with these two little tiny human beings. And when they became human beings, they were like really in love with one another. But as they were growing up, what really happened was the love between these two human beings started to grow. And the love was so, so, so overpowering that they forgot the laws of the jungle. They forgot which is the flower which blossoms right next to the window. They forgot which is the tree that is right in your college campus. They forgot which is the river which you cross when you cross the bus or the metro that you pass by. They forgot that there was like a beautiful bird that used to come in your villages. All they knew was about the love for one another, the human being love. And when this happened, the jungle was getting really angry. The jungle started scheming that these two human beings are not to be kept together because the love between them is very, very dangerous. And either we kill these two people or we kind of separate them. That was the whole conspiracy that the jungle started scheming for this particular human beings. And it so happened that the boy was quite a ferocious one. And the boy said, I think, I mean, somehow he overheard, and then, he was like, I was really angry and like, I mean, how can they actually try to kill us? We all are friends, you know, we all are friends. We have been living, growing together for such a long time. And how can they just decide? And then there was this guardian deity, the Yeti. Yeti is mostly known as abominable snowman or a hunter or a ferocious monster. But in our communities, in fact, all the Himalayan communities, we have a creature called Yeti, which was the guardian deity of the mountains and the forest. So Yeti is like, let's just call it Jampemon, but then there are different communities calling themselves with different names, like Migui, like Sokpa, and Sherpa communities call it Sokpa. So all these different names. But the guardian deity, which is the Yeti, was someone to go to person, So, uh, and even Rangit was really angry, and Rangit was like, listen, why don't you, like, what has happened to these mountains? Why are they trying to kill us? And that is the time when uh, Yeti was like, my dear friend, you both have been so engrossed with each other that you don't even realize that you have not been adhering the laws of the jungle. Neither are you not adhering or not, following the laws of the jungle. You don't even pay respect to the jungle anymore. You go by the riverside, you throw plastics. You go by the mountainside, burn plastics. You actually create a lot of mess. You just do not care about the jungle anymore. And that is the time Rangit was like, but still we are friends. But Rangnu was the wise one. And Rangnu said, my dear lover, I think Yeti is right. I think we have really taken advantage of nature. We do not really pay heed to the nature anymore. But what are we to do now? I mean, we just cannot. What if they separate us? And that's the time when Rangit was like, "Don't worry, my dear. I'm the man. I'm going to help you. I am the one who can protect you." And how? That's how she says. And then he said, like, let us become two rivers, and let us leave these mountains. Because as human beings, it's not possible for us to, go so far away. So as water, we travel very fast. So let us become these two rivers. You become a female river, and I will become a male river. And together we'll meet in a confluence. And from there onwards, we will actually go down to the plains. We do not want to live here. And then he was very proud of this particular, this solution that he created. But the girl was like, she was still crying, and she was like, oh my dear, you don't realize that when we become water, we are shapeless, we are formless. How can we actually go? What if we, because when we become water, we need some guide. If we do not have a shape, we just disappear. And the sun will come and it will evaporate us. How will we go? And that is the time when, uh, you know, Rangit was like, don't worry, my dear, I'm the man, I'm going to help you. And then he said, I will actually follow a bird and you will follow a snake. So now if you actually look at this, this is the Mount Kanchenjunga. And from here comes the Rangit. And from here comes the Rangnu, which is the female river. But even before they decided to become these two rivers, the male followed Himalayan monal, which is the national bird of Nepal. And this beautiful bird was so beautiful. You can actually see it, that it could actually, come from the mountain and go to the plains and coming back. And the boy said, I'm going to follow this bird, but you follow the snake, and together we will meet in this place called Pesok. If you actually see it with my mouse. And this place is where we meet and then we go down. And then they turned themselves into these two beautiful rivers. The boy became the Rangit River and the girl became Rangnu. And as they were floating by, they happened to come to the Pesok. But the legend has it that the boy was late and the girl was waiting for the boy. And as soon as the boy reached in this place, people call it Pesok now, but in Lepcha it is called Panzok. So Panzok means it is dense jungle. So if you happen to come to Darjeeling or Sikkim side, you will actually be, if you come to Darjeeling side from Gangtok, Sikkim side, and you will actually come across Pesok, which is full of tea gardens. But there were no tea gardens for a very long time. It only came in the
Sorry to interrupt. I think there's some network issue and she will be joining shortly again.
So there's an update. Minkit just had a power cut, so she's now reconnecting through her mobile phone. It will take shouldn't take more than 1 minute or 2 minutes at most. So please wait patiently.
I'm really sorry. There was electricity fluctuation, and I think this is what the reality is. Really sorry about it.
It's okay, please.
Yeah, yeah. I'm really sorry.
Yeah. You were talking about the tea gardens, and I was
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
lost.
Yeah, just a second. I'm just going to take out my thing. The PPT. Can you see my PPT?
Yes, yes. Now it's
All
good.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's visible.
So, apologies. This is where like living in mountains are like, you never know when the electricity goes off. And but anyways, coming back to the story, um, so this Pesok, the boy and the girl decided to meet in Pesok, right? But the girl was really waiting for the boy, and all of a sudden the boy sees the girl and like full of anger, he shouted like Tisatha. I mean, when did you arrive? So much of anger. And that's how the river got its name, Tista, actually. Tisata. And then the girl was like, hey, listen, listen. But oh, the boy would not even listen at all. The boy was like so angry. The boy was like, I mean, full of this ego. Like, how can you come before me? Like, I am the man and I am the one who will give you all the solution. And how can you even think of coming before me? And like, Tisata, that's all he shouted. But the girl was like, please listen to me, listen to me. But somehow the boy was not but the boy was not listening to the girl at all. He was full of anger. And the second thing he said was like, you must have cheated somebody. You must have gone around with someone and you tried to find a shortcut and you just wanted to come just before me. And I'm sure you cheated. You met somebody, another one along the way. And the girl was like, listen to me, listen to me. But the boy would not listen at all. And remember that these two people had become rivers and they were full of, the form was water. And the boy was like, I'm not going to go with you and at all. You don't deserve me. And I'm going to go back to the mountains wherever I want to go. So you can go wherever you want to go. And the boy was so ferocious that he started going upstream. He started pulling the mountains, he started pulling the rivers, the trees, the utis, the rhododendron flower, everything. He started pulling the mountains. Just like the floods we have now, no? The landslides we have. It's the water which is pulling the earth, right? Because the water has become so violent. Similarly, the Rangit was pulling everything. And then, it was so angry and not even willing to listen to anybody. And that is the time when it created floods in all these mountains that you see. The one that you see is Mount Kanchenjunga. And the one that you see here is Sikkim. And the where I have clicked this photo is Darjeeling. So these mountains were like, did not really know which side is what, right? And the river flows somewhere from here, was so angry that it started creating the whole flood across these mountains. The whole mountain was flooded. Not even one mountain was left behind, except for one, which is called the Tunrok or the Tendong, the one which is circled here at the right hand side. This was the only mountain which was standing upright, looking at Mount Kanchenjunga. And this is local people call it here as the volcano hill. But this particular mountain top was the only one where all the human beings, the animals, the birds, everybody stood on top of this mountain, praying to Itbudevu and praying for Rangit's sanity to come back because he was so angry. And when that happened, it was so full of anger and like so full of like, Rangit was, sometimes it happens, when we are angry, we just do not want to listen to anybody. And we just want to just kind of disappear, right? And just kind of probably destroy a lot of things along the way and just shut ourselves down and just want to take a time off. And I guess that's what Rangit was doing. He was like so angry. He was pulling the mountain, destroying, not even knowing that he's destroying the mountains, the rivers, everything. And then everybody has started like getting worried now what to do. Rangit is getting angry, and day by day we are actually moving up and up and up, and like the water level is rising up and we are not able to really save ourselves. So that is the time when the communities, the animals, birds, and when I say community, it's just not human being, it's everything, it's interbeing, animal, birds, insects, everything. So everyone like stood up in this, the volcano hill or the Tendong, and then started praying to Itbudevarum and started praying to kind of please help us, please help us. And that is the time when Itbudevarum came in the form of this bird, which is called hill partridge or kahangpo. Many of this, you will find this bird is also there in many of the Lepcha flags or the badges if you see it, if you happen to see it in future. But this bird was the one who actually came down to the Tendong and then said, "What is it that you want, my dear? What is it?" And that is the time when everybody started shouting and saying, "Please, please, help us and save us. Rangit is so angry that it is not even willing to listen to us. And one day there will come a time when we all will be submerged with water because this is the only mountain peak which is saving us." And that is the time when the hill partridge, Idbudevarum in the form of hill partridge said, offer millet. Offer millet to this to this river. It's only when you offer millet, then this particular river will be appeased. And that is the time when, you know, the shamans or the healers, traditional healers, the Lepchas call it Bungting or Mun. So the Bungting actually offered millet to the river. And that was the time when some part of the millet fell on the chest of this bird. So that's why you see till now this bird has these white spots. And if you closely go and rub the chest of this bird, you will smell of the bird will smell of millet. And then the millet was offered, right? And when the millet was offered, all of a sudden, Rangit was shocked. What happened to me? It's something like during the weekends, you had a big fight with your parents and you shut yourself down and you know, try to tear apart all your books and whatever it was. And Monday morning, you have to come to college and you don't have that book, you know, because you tore that in anger. It's something like that, you know. Rangit was so shocked to see what he had done. He did not even realize it. And that is the time when Rangit just looked around these mountains full of destruction, everything submerged. And then everybody said, now you have to go back to Rangnu and say sorry to her. Not only have you killed and destroyed so many things around us, but you have also hurt your lover a lot. So you have to go and say sorry. So that is the time when Rangit goes down to the confluence again and then says sorry to Rangnu. You can see the Mount Conchans on the here also. So when he went and said sorry to Rangnu, Rangnu with a very heavy heart smiled. You know, sometimes when we are sad and we still smile, like that Rangnu smiled and she said, only and if only you would have listened to what I had to say. You never trusted me. You found this new friend, which was the Himalayan Munal was so attractive, and you found a new friend and you got lost with it. But my dear, it was not me who was early. It was you who was late. I had come right on time. I was waiting for you. And because you met this new friend, sometimes the friend would sit on one branch, sometimes the bird would flirt with somebody, sometimes it would actually forage in the forest, and you just followed this bird, so mesmerized by the beauty that you did not even realize that you were late. But I, who followed the snake, just literally floated in the water. The snake never stops. Even if it stops, it always coils around. And the snake, whenever it is meeting a boulder also, it slithers through. Even if it's hungry, it will eat while it's moving. So I never stopped, but it was you who stopped. But you never believed me. Your ego was so huge that you did not even realize that it was you who was late and not me. But my dear, we both have become rivers now, and we both will actually be rivers providing water to downstream communities, right from India downstream to Bangladesh, and we meet in the ocean. So how can we not settle our fights? because I don't want to go back fighting with you and say, no, I will not forgive you. There is a golden massive which comes from downstream and lays eggs in the plains, in the foothills of Himalaya. We need, the fish needs this body. How can we just fight and keep fighting? So that's the time when Rangnu said, in order to appease your ego, because we have a responsibility, what I will do is, I will actually take a round here. If you actually see it in this particular picture, there is like an island-like thing. So this island-like thing means this river, Rangnu, which comes from North Sikkim, actually takes a round, one more round, so that it can again flow together with Rongit, and together they flow as River Tista. And then one of the reasons why it has this kind of a shape is because the river followed the shape of the bird. So that's why it is zigzag. Whereas this one, which is Rangnu, followed the bird trail of the snake, which is very straight. So that's what it said. And after that, this one, the river that you see, Tista, is right on top of Kanchenjunga, and then it flows through Sikkim, and then comes through, West Bengal side, and then goes down to Bangladesh, and goes down to ocean, the Bay of Bengal. And one of the pictures that you see that we offer millet right in the confluence is because this is millet that we have offered, and this is always that we offer, because this was the crop which actually saved us. And you will see a lot of the offerings here, not only Lepchas, but across all the Himalayan communities take this millet. Each one of them might be having their own reasons, but we have this reason, and this is the crop which used to grow before even the tea came into the mountains. And you will see a lot of these shamans, they all are praying to the river Tista, to the confluence, for saving us and for bringing us together. And most of the time there is this ritual that happens where people come down to River Tista to pray, and many shamans are sitting here alongside. Yeah, so this is the story of River Tista, and how Tisa became Tista, and how not just the Lepcha communities, all the communities of Darjeeling and Sikkim mountains, actually they pray to River Tista. During January, there is a festival called Maghe Sakrati, where they come down to River Tista and pray here. So this is what the story is, and I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, you can always ask me. Anyone? Or maybe shall we take up the questions later, Palak or Garima?
Yes, we can. Would you like to say anything else, Minkit, after? Some people are commenting that they are thankful to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's indeed a pleasure for me to, share these stories. But if for now, if they don't have any questions, I would like to close it with the flute sound. Also to kind of, because sometimes when you are sitting down in the storytelling sessions, for me, especially, I see this as a very sacred circle we create, where while you are listening, you're also reflecting, and there are a lot of characters in the stories where we resonate with that. Sometimes I become the Rangit, I become the angry one. Sometimes I become the calmer one, the Rangnu. Or sometimes it is also these, the birds or the flowers, that characters that come in, because there are a lot of other stories which also has, characters and associations of attributes. And so that is where I think for me to tell the story is also kind of being in that space of consciousness of how you are as a person also while you're listening to the story. So that's why I would, if right now, while we take the questions, or maybe we can do it later, Well, right now I would request all of you to just settle with that whole characters that you associated with, and also like be aware that uh, we all are always learning, always growing like the river. And I think more importantly is the fact that these characters that these different entities of the forest showed is also very much in us. and and it's okay, and it's okay to be, but what is more important is also to understand that the nature is always teaching us. The nature is always uh, you know the form of nature that we see is not separate from us. The way the rivers get angry, we get angry too. The way it settles down, we settle down too. And the interdependence that we talk about is like, in your college you have so many girls from so many places around the world, and you all are representing a watershed or a tributary that you come from your villages, and together you become this confluence. So please be aware that we all are always moving and learning. So I would like to just settle with the story, and would ask you, all of you, to just close your eyes and maybe just be aware of the story that you heard. And it's not about uh, like a prayer or something like that, but just be aware of it. And I will just ask the ask permission to leave the story with this tune again. And just close your eyes, breathe in, and breathe out. Somehow my phone is not working now. You can't hear, no?
No.
Okay. Make sure you're breathing in and breathing out. Take a long breath in and take a long breath out. And as you do that, just remember you're a vessel and take everything that is positive that you heard from the story. And whenever you breathe out, take out everything that has been bothering you for a long time. And with this, I will move to the other section of the presentation. I hope you all enjoyed. Sometimes it's not always presenting, it's also settling now, right? So this is what I do. But hopefully, like if there are any questions or anything that you want to ask, I would request all of you to ask me or probably in the chat box. And in the meanwhile, I'll be moving on to the another side, which I want to share. I think if there might be some of my friends who will be joining. Okay, yeah, thank you so much. I think Amphu is already there. Thank you, Palak. Yeah, now one of the reasons why I have invited some of my friends also with me is because after telling this, after telling the story, I after telling the storytelling, I really felt during COVID-19 that all our elders were passing away, and most of our elders have never really come out of their villages. And some of the elders have so much of understanding of the ecology around the region that they come from. And I see a lot of these communities, especially in the Northeast, where our elders have such rich traditional knowledge still intact. But due to COVID-19, we lost a lot of our elders along the way. And I was in Kathmandu that time, and I had like really felt like, okay, this is something which it's a crisis that we are going through, right? Because there's one thing to talk about, indigenous knowledge and traditional form, and how people are talking about climate change and that we need to protect indigenous people. But I think the biggest crisis that we are feeling right now is the young generation do not know the indigenous knowledge or traditional knowledge anymore. So some of us actually, like me, for example, have born and brought up in a Darjeeling town and studied in a convent educated form of education. And although I speak English fairly well, but I don't know my own language, the Lepcha language, and I don't know which is the tree, which is the flower that grows right in my backyard. And I think that's the biggest crisis that I go through right now. No matter even if I have a lot of qualification, and with the youngsters that we are interacting with, they have a lot of intellectual reasoning. But I think a very basic climate crisis problem that we are fighting is the lack of knowledge that we have about our own place. So this is how where re-meeting the roots began. And although it's my name is written there, but there was this beautiful 5 or 6 people who really helped. And along with me, there was Chaya Namchu, Amphu was there. We also had, Kumtia de Burma. We had Testu sisters from Nagaland. We have Alian Phoning and also Dr. Ripandi. So that we all got together to actually make this happen, right? And so the whole idea was just to start a few lines, is also to talk about why we as women have to be storytellers, or for that matter, we are already storytellers. We just have to acknowledge it. Some of you, I'm sure the teachers, the faculty members are mothers. And when you sit by with your children, it's a story which comes out so naturally. And you don't have to perform. It's not like performing, it's telling a story. Today, I just told you a story, and it was not performing or entertaining, but just creating that space. And I think many of us, especially as women, are storytellers who has got the lineage of telling stories. And even if we don't tell a story, either the cooking or even wearing your dress or even singing or dancing is a story. And that's how we express ourselves. So this whole idea of re-meeting the roots also came with 30 girls from Northeast. And we told them listen, before we even document the river folklore with your elders, please understand what river means to you, you know, the whole idea of what river is. So some of our participants were coming, were actually talking, living in an urban setup, has never been associated with river. They've always been far away. All they know about the water is the tap, the water which comes in the tap. So this kind of association that happened, and because of our elders literally passing away, this particular project was done, which was funded by British Council. And along with that, the Living Water Museum happens to be our host, where we actually got to showcase this work. And the whole idea was very, very simple. When a fetus is conceived inside the womb of a mother, a child is born in the cradle of water. Water flows through the umbilical cord to provide nutrition to a child. So, how can a mother not be connected with water? How can a woman not be connected to a river? So, stories of river and women, of the intertwining of love, conflict, sorrow, and laughter, have been told and retold by our elders. But our elders are dying, and so are the stories of our waters. So, this particular exhibition that I will take you through is about how they all got together and they started going back to their, because of COVID-19 also, they had to go back to their villages or their towns. And this gave them an opportunity to document the river folklore from their elders. But what is more important about the output of this, documentation was also, I think we have a very colonial understanding of documentation. Most of the time, when we talk about documentation, we talk about writing, we talk about now video. But I think when a mother sings a song, that's also a documentation. When your grandmother makes a recipe of the favorite pickle that you eat is also a documentation. So I think documentation is in living. And as people from India who has a very rich and diverse culture, our documentations were always in the living. It is just in recent times where we have taken away the living form and made it into a book, or even for that matter, films. But I think unless and until we do not practice these documentations, it is just a document which is there in the library or probably in your hard disk. So that's very important. I would request one of you to turn off their audio, I think, because I can hear some disturbance. I think it's Monica, right? Yeah, thank you so much. So this is what the whole Re-Meeting the Roots was about, and allowing the girls to express that form of expression which you feel comfortable with. Because often we have been told not to express fully, right? Don't laugh too much, don't talk too much, don't dress like this, don't walk like that, don't sit like this. So this kind of form of expressions that we have inside us, we've always been told not to. So I guess this particular project was not just about documentation of the river folklore, but also to find ways of expressing in the best possible way. So I will send this link to all of you in the chat box, and you guys can watch it later. But I will quickly take you through how this whole Re-Meeting the Roots were divided into different themes. First of all, it's very important to connect with the river within. In this particular project, it was about that. But it's always important to reflect on who you are and what you do before you even present yourself as somebody. So this is where the whole project began, when connecting with the river within. Like, we are actually, blood is the river inside us. If the blood stops, we die. So how can we not be connected, right? And it's always flowing, no? So it's very important to understand that the nature is inside us, outside and inside. Inside, we do not love ourselves, we do not acknowledge, and outside, we just create a lot of destructions. So this is what it was, connecting with the river within. And also, because it was the project in Northeast, or for that matter, even India, like anywhere, we have a lot of crafts, which is a form of expression. Now, what it has happened is just like totally just talked about livelihood, but it is not livelihood. It was a form of expression. It was love for the husband, for the brother, for the father. And, our mothers and our elders used to craft those expressions and then gift it to the family. So this is some expressions that we talked about. And having said that, we also have women and technology is often not associated together. If you're it's techie, you will not understand. Even a woman driving a car is a big success seen. It's seen like, but I think there are a lot of women out there who's into visual and into arts and animation, and they're doing some fine work. So I think even though from very very remote villages, but these people were actually did some amazing work with visual art and animation. So it was also to reclaim spaces, or for that matter claim spaces in technology where women are actually doing really good, especially from Northeast. So this is what we had talked about. And another form is just oral and verbal storytelling, like the way I did today. Many time I get an offer to kind of tell people to, why don't you write a book, why don't you write a story, children's story? And I abstain from it. Maybe in future I will write it, but for now, me to connect with you even through online medium and tell this story allows me to say so many things which is true at this moment. Maybe 2 days later, this stories or this state of mind will not be there. And I think the beauty of orality and verbal storytelling is it celebrates the moment. It celebrates what it is now and not what it will be tomorrow, or what it was yesterday. It's like you cannot cross the same river twice, right? The same thing for me, and for me to become a storyteller and not write it down is because I want to celebrate this moment of now. And singing, when we are sitting by the kitchen, and somebody starts humming, and like somebody starts humming together, that's also a celebration in itself, and storytelling in itself, right? So this kind of thing was so much prevalent in our regions and our communities, and when I say Northeast, I also include Darjeeling and Kalimpong and Kershaw. So these idea of our expressions, many of our actually, when I was in Delhi University, I had a lot of problem because I could not connect with a lot of people, because my expression was not always standing on the pedestal and talking, or I couldn't like really talk, but what I did talk was about through gestures and through little things that I did, and that was an expression in itself. And often in these there's always this communication problem where we are often told that the chinkies, or somebody who is from is Chinese, and having a lot of problem to really express ourselves. But having said that, I think this particular project also talks about how we express differently and how we need to find spaces where our expressions are accepted or acknowledged, or in the food, for that matter. So this kind of oral and verbal storytelling was something very important to represent in this particular chapter also. So that is one, and our languages, our tonality equally being a part of the expression, and not like, of course, I can speak very Hindi, but when I speak, some of our friends from Northeast, when they speak Hindi, they still have accents and tonality, which is very much rooted to their communities. But that's their expression, you cannot take it away, take that away. So this is what the oral and verbal storytelling was about. But having said that, the idea was to come together, no matter where we come from, we flow together, just like from the mountain, up in the mountain. We talk about Ganga, but Ganga also has roots up in the Himalaya, right? So there are certain parts in Nepal, or certain parts in India where these mountains, where the glacial mountains melt and then they become Ganga. Ganga is not separate. Tista is not separate. So when all these mountains melt, they all become rivers coming down to the mainland India and coming down to South India and going down to the ocean. So we all have to flow together. We cannot flow separately. The water as an element does not flow separately. So the whole idea of flowing together comes also from the ethos that we are one, no matter which area we come from in India, or for that matter, right now in your college, we are together flowing. And we all make the community. So this is what we were talking about. You guys can see it, and when we talk about connecting with the rivers, so you see a lot of girls, some of them Moa from Maui from Mizoram, looked into photography as a form of expression. This one Zoe Zhao from Manipur, she looked at this kind of modern art. We had Rumit Lepcha who used that video as a form of her expression. Some Boro girl from Assam looked at drawing as a form of expression. We have Denmir, Ampu's cousin or friend. So she also comes from Karbi Anglong. So out there's a lot of waterfall, right? So this is where through her paper meshes she created waterfall. We had Jasmine who drew, and then we have a lot of these. Denme, then a lot of drawings came about when they started talking about reflecting with the river within. So the hand was an important part of expression. So we as community also work with hand. It is not always head. So these drawings that you can see, and crafted expression is, I think this is one of my favorites. So Jasmine from Darjeeling, she actually, the folklore that I talked about, she actually did a cross stitch. She took 1 month to actually draw this, and this is handmade. And you can see the rangit, the rangnu, the one that I talked about, and the bird, the snake, and you see the Kanchenjunga, and you can see the millet. Everything was a part of this story through her drawing. So this is so important for us to also express by using our hands, and not always use engross in video games or things like that. So we had Landi Yami from Arunachal Pradesh. We used cross stitch, sorry, dream catcher. So all this Seema and all that. We had visual arts also. Visual arts, like I told you, Maui from Mizoram went back home for the first time, and that was the time when she actually could actually document her story about the Pialral, which is basically the resting place after her death. So this is where she actually drew her village with her own hands, because she was scared. Uh, like she really wanted to make it her way, authentic way, and that was her honesty. So not only she made this particular drawing, but she actually gave a voiceover, and she created this animation with her own story. And then this is Linyam, and Linyam right now is in Delhi University. I think she's in St. Stephen's. So she documented her mother's tribe, Wancho, and she actually made an animation with the paper cut and animation. Just, I hope I can just show you just quickly. So this is the kind of animation that she did with this particular story, and we just gave them some points, but I think she made it on her own. So it was amazing to see how gifted they were. So this oral verbal storytelling also, there were so many form of storytelling, right? So for example, Hamthuma Debarma, she was a very young girl from Tripura. She sang a song about Raima Saima, one of the holy rivers of Tripura. So just giving glimpse of how she used the story, the song as a form of storytelling. And she actually wrote a story about this particular river also. Can you hear the sound of the song?
No, the audio doesn't.
Okay. All right.
No.
So then I think there was less turn on original sound. I think this is how it happens, right? Can you? No, you didn't, right? Did you hear
Exactly.
the sound?
No, it's not coming.
All right, you can look at it online. It's available online. So then we had Hunmir. I don't know. Amfu, is Hunmir there today?
Yes, this is there.
Oh, all right. So Hunmir will be the best person to speak, and I think we have also Amfu, both of our friends from Karbi Anglong. Seema, I had invited, but I'm not sure if Seema is there. But anyway, so these are few stories Cholamu had done all, and I think Iksha Limbu had a very nice story about how a pregnant woman goes by the riverside and actually prays in the riverside. So these are very different stories that came about, and this one also had a story. Dengmir actually documented a story about traditional pork cuisine. So this is a food which is an integral part of their side, right? So this is where she talked about how bamboo is found near the riverside, and they actually use the bamboo to make that food. So these are different expressions. And I think as facilitators also, we as people who are organizing, it was very important to come as a circle and not come as I am the senior or I'm the junior. It was coming together as participants flowing with the participant. So this is me where I try to become like a whirlpool and trying to find how I am actually emerging from the whirlpool and my expression of water. And I created this motion with my shawl, so that's how it was. We had Kumtia, who is actually doing a lot of work with the UN regarding indigenous rights. We had Chaya, who did some fabulous work with drawing. She was the right hand for me. She really helped this particular project come aboard. And we had Alyan phoning. Actually, she has done a beautiful artwork on dragon, which she is a shaman, and she's talking about how the shaman is coming. And she had this display in Gangtok recently. We had Amfu, who is going to be speaking today. And yeah, this is where the whole project, how we went about and did it, came about. But just a quick glimpse of these girls. You can see all the pictures in their traditional dress and how they were together. Some of us were not there because Hindi is also a privilege for many of us, you know. But I know English and Hindi, but many of these girls here could not speak Hindi properly. They understood either Assamese or either their own language. So sometimes the translation also was a problem, how it was difficult to get them together. So this is what I have, and I will probably pass it on to Amfu to talk a bit about her journey about this, and also when Mir is there. But I think I want to read out this poem which Nukmani Jamatia, she was one of our participants. She wrote this, which was, of course, the Percy Shelley's poem, but I just wanted to say that finish this whole presentation by reading it out. I am the daughter of earth and water, and the nursing of the sky. I pass through the pores of the ocean and shores. I change, but I cannot die. For after the rain, when, with never a stain, the pavilion of heaven is bare, and the words and sunbeams, with their convex gleams, build up the blue dome of air, I silently laugh at my own cenotaph, and out of the caverns of rain, like a child from the womb, like a ghost from the tomb, I arise and unbuild it again. So thank you so much. And moving on to Amfu, please over to you. So she is a fabulous artist from Karbi Anglong. Uh, would love to have you few words on how this experience was and what it was like. This is her artwork.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. After many months, I'm meeting Minkit Day, and it's a very privilege to me. So that was a wonderful workshop, I will say, because it is an experience for everyone, and for the first time for me to work with adolescents, children, and collaborate with like different states in all over Northeast India. And it was celebrated because this workshop taught us the value of water, of our own roots, and many things we have learned because it's not about only water. It's about our behavior, and how we connect with nature. Like so, like directly, like I will be talking about for myself. I'm Momputarangpi since like I'm working as a research scholar and side by side I'm practicing as an artist because I practice, like since from my childhood artwork. So this my art. This is my artwork. This is called actually, it's called a Jambili Athon. Jambili Athon mean like is a totem of a Karbi for because I belong from a Karbi community from Assam. So our ontology, about Jambilia Tong, we have a 5 clan. So it's relate with that, and and with the clan, like, and even in the journey when particularly this Jambliathong will bring the funeral festival called Chomangkan. So that time what happened when a dirt singer, when they will sing, when they will sing, like they will guide for journey. It's a journey of a soul. So when from after the soul is releasing from the body, they will the one who will guide from where to take the water, then from after water from which up to which gate. So the Karbi believe that in our ontology we don't have a philosophy of how the particular Eurocentric have, like how they have like heaven and hell. We Karbi, we always say that we are returning to our ancestor lands. Once it's called api apurong chewa. That means we are going back to our grandfather grandmother village. So so this particularly like workshop, and even on my research work, everything, every community, every apart in the whole world, they have their own philosophy, like. So the Karbi also have such things, so like this particular painting, I made it because that you can see the people are surrounding. That means particularly when this festival happened, we used to dance, the youth need to dance, and we call lasa kekan. Lasa kekan means like because Karbi also belong from Tibet to Burma, so like how Minkit did, I think Lepcha also come under the Tibet to Burma. So we have that roots, like so these are the things that I'm going to talk. And with my like when Minkiti had mentioned about Dengmir, she is from Karbi Anglong, only from my place. And in Assam, especially in particular Karbi Anglong region, we have lots of water body, which has lots of waterfalls. I think Minkiti, if you saw the slides of that waterfalls, I think I can show in a better way. Yeah, we can show that bamboo also. Okay. Yeah, yeah. I think this particular yeah, Hunmir Teron. I think this is Hunmir will tell will be better. But this particular waterfall, it's called Lang Buku. That means this kind of water body, lots of there in Karbi Anglong region. And we believe water is, we have in our religion also, we have a water spirit. We call that each individual deity protect by either a water spirit or a hill spirit. So like, so we have so many narrative and a belief on a water body, not only on Karbi, even in other community as well. So like we have, but now at present what happened, all this folklores, like, because what Minkidi said, that orality. So due to that orality, now day by day, due to the change and continuity of the of the pattern that we are living, so these are all kind of erasing. But due to this workshop, we are again reconnecting to our root, and we have a strong belief on these waterfalls. That means is a belief that there was a water rooster, beneath under this river. So in Karbi, we have a call Rongbin. Rongbin means a hidden village. So these kinds of things, the story is there. So it's a sacred place. We believe it's a sacred place. We cannot make pollute noise much. So these kinds of things.
Maybe Hunmir can talk a bit
Yeah,
about that, no?
Hunmir.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, better.
yeah, yeah.
Better to invite for Hunmir.
Hunmir, are you there?
Yes, T, I'm here.
Yeah, hi, hi. So I
Hi.
think you would be I mean, she was one of the participants, so we would love to hear a bit about it, like just probably brief explanation about it.
So Langvoku, Lang means water and Voku means, we call it when a bird make a sound, like, I don't know how to say that.
Rooster.
Yeah, when
like a rooster.
yeah, like a rooster. So there were some people They are on a bank of the waterfall. So those people, they heard a rooster making a loud voice, and so a local rooster cannot make that loud voice. So they all heard that, and after hearing that, they went to see the rooster, and they kind of show some, I don't know, maybe a reflection or something. It is not so much clear to me, but people, they all are speaking now, means they all are telling the story now. They all told me about this, and that's why I saw it here. Um,
Yeah. I think also you can maybe they can listen, hear the story, read the story later. But I
yeah.
think you can also talk a bit about your experience with the with this whole living water thing that we did and re-meeting the roots. Why it was important for you, or how
What's
was
it?
the experience?
No, it was a nice experience meeting with you all and everyone in the Northeast, because I'm a person who always stay at home and I never go out. I don't like making too much friends and all. But here I got to meet some people and I still got some numbers, and I used to chat like Cholamo, Cholamlo, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry. I used to chat with them, and I feel good, like I kind of have a friend. I take them as a friend because I don't have much friend. I take them as a friend, and I got to meet some people. I got to listen to their story, and I can go out of Assam till now. I'm 21, but I've never went out of Assam anywhere.
Mm.
So I got to hear their story through this workshop. So I'm very happy to attend this, and I'm very thankful to that to my sister, to my cousin, I would say, to my cousin Amfu, for inviting me, and I'm very thankful to you all for letting me show and express all the things.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Honmir. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, and Amfu also for coming on such a short notice. But
Thank you,
that's
Sid.
all.
Thank you.
That's all from our side. I have sent the link to the our friends, and yeah, this is all from our side. If there are any questions, uh, you're free to ask. Thank you everyone for sending us some really warm wishes.
Thank you, Minkit. So, guys, the floor is now open for discussion. Any questions and suggestions and comments for Minkit is you can just unmute yourself and speak, or you can also write in the chat box.
Yeah, don't feel shy. Our
Yeah,
girls
since
feel
no
very
one is
shy. Yeah.
since no one is taking the thing, I would like to just say that it was really a very immersive experience, and that story of Rangleet and Rangeet was really, it's somewhere in the subconscious of my own memory also, but you've really revived it. Thank you so much. And I myself remember, these stories that, I don't know, it could be any kind of a thing that your mother tells you, but it makes you feel special. Like my own mother used to say that she prayed to Tista for a daughter.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, that's so.
and it was so
You
much
are the
heavily
prayer.
embedded.
Oh, you are the
Yeah, and it
prayer.
was so heavily embedded by the later experiences that
Yeah.
this kind of furthered that memory. So it was really wonderful having you and listening to Amfu and Hunmir.
We have Mehak, I guess.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
My name is Mehak
afternoon.
Tiwari. I'm from BA program first year. So, ma'am,
Yeah.
what my key takeaway from this session was, like, I could relate it with the present experiences through the point of view of climate change, which we are
Right.
all are facing. Like
Mhm.
when I guess when there was a quote that how we disturb the nature, how we react towards the nature, it's the way how we disturb the nature. So like I could very easily relate to it, that we all know that the floods which have been happened in Uttarakhand 2013, It was
Yeah.
also because one of the reason where one of the rivers was over flooded, and the all those things happened, all the mishap happened. Similarly, we are facing this in Assam. Like every year, there are a, I can't say in words that how much the people of Assam are facing now, right now,
Yeah.
and the cloud burst, which we are like, where 15 pilgrims yesterday have died. So like all these experiences, all this news of like disasters are like really very disappointing. So like what I could like that we must protect the nature, and like we must care of all everything which whatever we have.
Right, that's true, Mehek. But sometimes we have created so much of turmoil that we can only receive the outcome, because the Uttarakhand flood or Assam that you're talking about, it's not that it happened today. It is about, I guess, more than 20 years of us creating that mess, and we are seeing the result now. So you see so many dams up there in Uttarakhand as well, also in Assam upstream, and we have actually blocked the way the river flows also. So that's also one of the things. But I think on a practical level, because sometimes this kind gets really overwhelming for us, and we just don't know what to do, and especially for young generation like you girls are, I think sometimes you are at the receiving end, in spite of not even doing anything about it. But I think one point of action that I would tell all of you is always try to reduce your waste. We talk about recycling and reusing it, but start refusing. If you can stop using plastic, I think that's the beginning of a lot of things right now, because that's at least your conscience can say something you have done right. Then also to not have too many cement industry coming in, because a lot of sand mining is happening. We are taking half the things from the riverbed and making houses and comfortable places for us, but we do not realize that the sand is a home for a lot of other things, like the ants, the butterfly, and all that. So these are some things doable, I feel, because sometimes we really have to understand that we are, our generation or your generation is merely experiencing what has been done 20 years ago. So thank you so much for this very well said point of view, and I'm happy that you're even aware of it. Some of us are not aware of that too. So yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else who wants to speak something, or you can also drop a message in the chat box.
Yeah, Assam is in havoc. And also, I was recently in Bangladesh. So the whole village called Sylhet is gone. So we also have to think about the downstream communities, because when I was doing a storytelling session in Delhi, the Yamuna was getting flooded, and just under the bridge of Yamuna, I was telling a story, and all of them had to leave the place then and there because the water was taking away their villages. So it's not about the villages in Assam or in Uttarakhand, it's happening right in Delhi too.
Yes, every mess has its outcome.
Yeah.
I think everyone has understood what you wanted to say. So, we have also shared the feedback form in the chat box, and I request you all to fill it. So,
Uh-huh.
now I request Vanshika to conclude the event.
Yeah, but before that, I would
Yes,
really
yes.
like to thank Garima for organizing this, and also to Principal Ma'am for allowing this to happen. Because sometimes we really need platforms like this to connect to the larger audience. And thank you for just giving us this opportunity from Hunbir, Ampu, and myself.
I can only already see many of the feedback comments that the students are really touched, and it made them think it's a very thought provoking session for them. So thank you, Minkit, and thank you,
Yeah,
Mimir, Amfu.
thank you.
Thank you, you two all. Thank you, Minkit.
Welcome.
Yes, Vanshika, you can now conclude.
So thank you, Pala. And so I'm here to conclude the talk for the today. So the talk spoke about the connection that exists between rivers outside and within us. It is based on Venkat's experience with working on connecting with the source of rivers along the Himalayan and sub-Himalayan region through various pedagogical methods. Even as it draws attention to environmental issues, the talk focuses on integrating the traditional art of storytelling, going through patterns of folklores, songs, and ritual practices to understand and foster a generational appreciation of a community's traditional knowledge systems. It therefore has a distinct textual quality, such as reading, analyzing cultural and ritual texts, investigating the roots of words, comparing origin myths. Storytelling for Minkit has been a way of keeping alive her own connection with our vanishing Lepcha community and a realization of the importance of passing on these methods of approaches to the younger generations. Not just telling stories, but also showcasing the work of 30 young girls representing their expressions of storytelling in recent times. It involves retrieving the art of storytelling and using it as a pedagogical tool to connect with fellow beings and communities, encouraging acceptance, coexistence, care, and social nurture. We thank Minkit for sharing her experience and work with us.
Thank you. That was such a nice thing to say, but thank you so much.
Now I request the teacher in charge of the English department, Miss Manpreet Kaur, to say a few words. I hope she's there.
Thank you, Vanshika and Palak. Hi, Minkit. On behalf of the Department of English, I feel privileged to extend the vote of thanks for one of the most stimulating and riveting talks, storytelling session, workshop. We had difficulty in categorizing it. It was one or but just I think just highlighting the eclectic nature of your research and of your activism and your engagement with this issue on visualizing river stories. It almost transported us to the eastern Himalayas, especially the melodious musical pieces which verge on a near mystical experience, Minkit. A huge thank you to you for giving us a glimpse into the beautiful Lepcha culture and the tribal vision of the other indigenous communities from the Northeast, which highlights the harmonious and symbiotic coexistence of nature and human beings transcending, as you said, political borders and mainstream spatio-temporal divisions. Thank you so much for foregrounding the significance of orality, oral literature, and therefore the need to really create an archive, not the kind of
Yes.
archive that's traditionally limited to only printed material, but a living archive, as you said.
Yeah.
So thank you for highlighting ideas of ecofeminism, how they flow into each other and actually inform our lived experience. Thank you so much for. I wish this could have been a workshop, and maybe we can really organize something along those lines. You'd be maybe you already know, since you were a student of Delhi University in 2006. We teach a generic elective course called Readings in Indian Diversities and Literary Movements, and we have sections on tribal literature where these themes and these concerns are discussed and these discourses are talked about. In fact, I want to also share with you a thought that I was having while you were talking about the scope of the project that you undertook. this can actually be pedagogically very relevant, right? So not just reading and then writing from the head, as you said. So don't just try and create from the head, but also use memory, use your lived experience to really create this conversation and to create the archive. So thank you very much once again. And I'd like to express gratitude to our esteemed principal, Professor Sadhna Sharma, for constantly encouraging us and facilitating our academic and co-curricular endeavors. I'd like to acknowledge our sincere thanks to Dr. Shubha Sinha, the convener of and the coordinator of IQAC of Shyama Prasad Mukherjee College, for her guidance and support in organizing the talk. I am very grateful to our colleagues from the non-teaching department, Ms. Minakshi and Mr. Sarabjit Singh, for their support. A special thanks is also due to Miss Anita Kumari of the NSS, who actually played a very important role in spreading this information and getting the word around. I want to thank Amfu and Hanmir for sharing their inspirational research. Some of our students shared their observations and their thoughts with you, but I can assure you, Minkit, that it has been a very stimulating talk, very stimulating session, and it's definitely encouraged our students to think about it. Maybe they already have these stories, raising their heads from the bottoms of their memory. They're already there, I'm sure, and I'm sure they will. I'm certain they will go on to document their own stories and create their own repertoire of various types of documentation, as you said. So I want to thank Garima Rai for conceptualizing this talk, really, and organizing it, for getting everyone together on board. Garima, thank you, huge thank you. And I must also share with all the participants that this is also part of a series that we have begun, which is commemorating important events and dates, commemorating Environment Day, for instance. And this is the first. We wanted it to be the inaugural event. And this also coincided with the Environment Day. So thank you, Garima, for that initiative. And finally, I would like to thank all my dear colleagues and most of all, my dear students, for your kind presence. I'm sure that Minkit's talk would have inspired you to listen to the sounds and stories, sounds in nature and stories, which are your own stories, really. They flow into each other. So we promise to come back with more such events, and we will try and get Minkit to come back again. It's been really very interesting, very sort of inspiring experience for all of us. Thank you, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Manpreet ma'am, for your wonderful, more than a vote of thanks. And we will try to make these future events happen, of course. So we'll end at that note. Thank
Yes.
you, Minkit. Thank you,
Thank
Unmira.
you.
Thank
I've
you,
sent the movie link also, right? And then
yes, so
yeah.
everybody, please refer to your chat boxes if you're interested to follow up on the projects. So the
Yeah,
link,
there is a movie link and then the Living Waters link, so you guys can see it.
and also please do not forget to send in your feedbacks for the event. This is mostly for our students. So Thank you, Minkit.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you, Vanshika, as well.
Bye, Amfu and Hunmir. Bye, Garima.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you everyone for staying with us. Now we have shared the feedback form in the chat box. I request you all to fill it, and this comes to an end of our event today. Thank you for being with us.